sedikit penjelasan tentang Departemen Manajemen Teknologi. Jadi Departemen Manajemen Teknologi ini berada di bawah Fakultas Desain Kreatif dan Bisnis Digital. Jadi disingkat sebagai Kreabis, ya. Kemudian tentu karena kita adalah program pasca sarjana, kita juga nginduk ke Direktorat Pasca Sarjana. Jadi kemarin barangkali sebagian besar sudah ikut acara IPITS yang diselenggarakan oleh Pasca Sarjana ITS. Sebagaimana yang saya sampaikan tadi, kita mengelola dua program studi. Yang pertama adalah program studi Magister Manajemen Teknologi dan program Doktor Manajemen Teknologi. Dari sisi sejarahnya, jadi program Magister Manajemen Teknologi sudah berusia 24 tahun, didirikan tahun 1996. Saat ini sudah memiliki alumni lebih dari 2.100 orang, dengan mahasiswa yang tercatat saat ini, mohon maaf ini belum diupdate tadi, mencapai di atas 750 orang dengan mahasiswa baru yang sekarang sudah bergabung dengan kita. Jadi lebih dari 750 orang, sehingga kita menjadi salah satu program Magister Manajemen yang terbesar, salah satu yang terbesar di Indonesia. Tenaga pengajar yang mengajar di program MMT ini ada 100 orang lebih untuk semester ini, terdiri dari para dosen-dosen dari berbagai bidang di ITS, dari berbagai departemen, ada yang dari teknik industri, teknik mesin, statistik, ada yang dari teknik elektro, teknik sipil, informatika, sistem informasi, dan lain-lain. Dan juga kita banyak disupport oleh para praktisi di dalam proses belajar mengajar. Sehingga program-program kita harapkan bisa mengawinkan antara konsep-konsep yang kuat dan teori-teori yang relevan dengan best practice yang bisa kita jumpai di lapangan. Kita juga disupport oleh Board of Advisor. Jadi 2 tahun yang lalu kami membentuk Dewan Penasehat atau Board of Advisor yang terdiri dari para pakar atau para leader di bidangnya masing-masing. Ada yang perwakilan alumni, ada yang mereka yang kita anggap sebagai yang leading di industrinya masing-masing, termasuk juga ada yang profesor dari perguruan tinggi ternama dari luar negeri. Nah, kami di Departemen Manajemen Teknologi ini, saya perkenalkan dulu. Tadi saya memperkenalkan diri saya, ini fotonya yang di tengah, adalah sebagai kepala departemen, didukung oleh 2 sekretaris departemen. Yang satu adalah Pak Jerry Dwi Trijoyo Purnomo. Nanti setelah saya selesai menyampaikan materi, akan saya minta untuk memberikan barangkali pesan singkat. Pak Jerry Dwi Trijoyo Purnomo ini adalah dosen dari Departemen Statistika ITS. Kemudian yang di sebelah kanan adalah Bapak Dinariana. Jadi anak Agung Bagus Dinariana Dwi Putranta lengkapnya dari Departemen Sistem Perkapalan. Kemudian kalau dari sisi bidang yang kita tawarkan, barangkali sebagian sudah melihat di website atau di informasi yang tersedia secara online maupun bertanya langsung kepada tenaga administrasi kita, bahwa kita menawarkan program Magister Manajemen Teknologi dengan sejumlah bidang keahlian yang berbeda. Tetapi ambisi kami sebagai penyelenggara adalah menghasilkan, jadi ini untuk yang MMT dulu, menghasilkan mereka-mereka yang nanti memiliki pertama strong analytical skills, jadi memiliki kemampuan untuk mengolah data, menggunakan model dan sebagainya. Yang kedua, memiliki pengetahuan tentang manajemen fungsional, pemasaran, sumber daya manusia, keuangan dan lain sebagainya. Kemudian kita juga memiliki kekhususan karena ini adalah Departemen Manajemen Teknologi, maka lulusan-lulusan atau mahasiswa yang sedang belajar di sini nanti juga diharapkan memiliki pengetahuan tentang inovasi dan teknologi. Jadi how to manage technology and innovation. Di samping itu tentu saja adalah bidang keahlian yang sesuai dengan yang diambil. Dan di luar itu, mahasiswa juga diharapkan memiliki kemampuan untuk melakukan riset dan presentasi. Karena di program MMT ada kewajiban mahasiswa itu untuk menghasilkan tesis yang berbasis pada penelitian. Nah, saya kira mungkin Anda juga perlu memahami struktur kurikulum dari program Magister Manajemen Teknologi. Kita membagi menjadi 5 seperti pohon yang tadi, dan 5 itu masing-masing memiliki sejumlah mata kuliah. Pada area yang paling bawah, kita mengajarkan apa yang kita klasifikasikan sebagai tools yang nanti akan memberikan pemahaman yang mendalam tentang analytical skills. Jadi di situ ada statistik, ada decision analysis. Kemudian di atasnya apa yang tadi saya katakan sebagai manajemen fungsional, yaitu manajemen yang umumnya, fungsi-fungsi manajemen yang umumnya kita tahu di berbagai organisasi. Jadi di situ ada pelajaran tentang finance atau keuangan, marketing, sama human resource management. Ini wajib karena kita berada di dalam kelompok bidang atau program Magister Manajemen. Walaupun ada T di belakangnya, Magister Manajemen Teknologi, tapi karena kita menyebut diri sebagai program Magister Manajemen dengan T Teknologi, maka wajib kita memberikan kuliah-kuliah fungsional manajemen. Nah, yang spesifik di MMT ITS dan barangkali tidak banyak dijumpai di program MM yang lain adalah 3 yang ini. Pertama adalah pengenalan tentang teknologi informasi yang tentu saja merupakan hal yang sangat penting dewasa ini. Yang tadi saya sebutkan tentang teknologi dan inovasi, sama manajemen project. Ini sangat dibutuhkan oleh siapa saja. Nah, di atas itu ada 5 core subject yang sesuai dengan bidang yang diambil. Nanti saya akan tunjukkan contohnya untuk masing-masing bidang. Di samping itu, mahasiswa nanti harus mengerjakan tesis sebanyak 6 SKS yang didahului oleh proposal tesis yang bobotnya 2 SKS. Nah, bidang-bidang apa yang kami tawarkan? Jadi kita punya cukup banyak bidang. Jadi kalau yang di Surabaya ada manajemen industri, manajemen proyek, manajemen teknologi informasi, manajemen bisnis maritim, supply chain management atau manajemen rantai pasok, bisnis analitik, sama yang baru sekarang adalah innovation design management. 3 yang terakhir ini baru kita kembangkan dalam 2 tahun terakhir. Jadi dalam 2 tahun terakhir kami melakukan sangat banyak pengembangan, baik dari sisi bidang, maupun juga kita membuka kelas di Jakarta, dan yang baru-baru ini adalah program doktor. Jadi cukup banyak kita melakukan diversifikasi dan development di dalam 2 tahun yang terakhir. Nah, di Jakarta kita baru jalan project management, supply chain management, sama business analytics. Nah, kenapa pilihan-pilihan bidang itu yang kami tawarkan? Karena ini berdasarkan studi, kajian yang tentunya cukup melihat perkembangan yang di luar. Bahwa semua yang kami tawarkan ini adalah bidang-bidang yang memang sangat dibutuhkan di dunia kerja. Ambillah contoh kalau kita berbicara yang namanya business analytics. itu barangkali kami yang pertama menawarkan program Magister Manajemen dalam bidang Business Analytics di Indonesia, dan itu sesuai dengan perkembangan kebutuhan dunia kerja saat ini. Innovation Design Management saya kira juga adalah bidang yang sangat bagus dan menjanjikan dan juga banyak dibutuhkan. Yang lain-lain juga seperti itu. Jadi kita punya uniqueness dan kita menawarkan bidang-bidang yang tidak banyak ada di tempat lain. Termasuk misalnya project management. Jadi kenapa project management adalah sesuatu yang penting sekarang ini? Karena setiap industri yang ingin survive, mereka akan butuh inovasi-inovasi di dalamnya, dan inovasi umumnya dikelola sebagai sebuah project, bukan sebagai sebuah kegiatan rutin. Sehingga project akan men-trigger adanya sustainability. Muncul ide-ide baru, kemudian itu diwujudkan dalam sebuah produk atau di dalam sebuah program, dan itu membutuhkan project management yang bagus. Ya. Nah, seperti yang saya katakan tadi, kalau kita melihat dari sisi struktur kurikulum, 5 yang kami kasih kotak ungu tersebut adalah kuliah-kuliah yang hanya diambil oleh yang bidangnya sesuai. Jadi kalau misalnya project management yang tadinya kosong, itu isinya adalah 5 yang ini. Kemudian business analytics, isinya lain lagi yang ungu tersebut. Ya, supply chain management lain lagi. Jadi 5 mata kuliah itu betul-betul akan memberikan warna untuk bidangnya masing-masing. Baik. Nanti silakan dilihat kurikulum yang Anda ambil secara lebih detail, pahami struktur kurikulumnya, dan kita memang untuk selain yang ungu, semua mahasiswa mengambil bidang apapun. Sehingga jangan heran nanti di kelas-kelas tertentu, misalnya kelas-kelas yang umum ini, Anda akan bercampur dengan bidang keahlian yang lain. Dan saya kira itu bagus sekali, sehingga di dalam kelas Anda mungkin bisa mengenal teman-teman dari bidang keahlian yang lain juga. Sehingga apalagi kalau nanti kuliahnya sudah bisa offline, itu akan sangat mendukung untuk networking dan lain sebagainya. Baik, ini beberapa slide yang terkait dengan penjelasan masing-masing bidang keahlian, tetapi saya kira waktu kita terbatas, saya tidak akan jelaskan secara detail. Kemudian saya ingin menyampaikan bahwa kita banyak sekali program-program yang intinya memberikan experience bukan sekedar dari dosen yang reguler, tetapi juga kita secara periodik mengundang dosen tamu. Seperti ini misalnya dari Pak Arif Wibowo memberikan kuliah tamu, beliau adalah mantan CEO dari Garuda. Kemudian juga kita memberikan kesempatan kepada mahasiswa untuk melakukan kunjungan-kunjungan ke luar negeri. Ini misalnya kunjungan ke Manila beberapa waktu yang lalu. Kita juga banyak kerjasama dengan perguruan tinggi luar negeri. Ini misalnya salah satu tamu kita dari Malaysia. Kemudian di samping itu juga bukan hanya mahasiswanya yang kita didik, dosennya juga kita berikan kesempatan untuk updating, upgrading, dan lain sebagainya. Misalnya ini salah satu gambar yang saya tunjukkan adalah teaching workshop untuk para dosen dengan menghadirkan salah satu profesor dari NUS, National University of Singapore. Bahkan para tenaga administrasi kita, para tendik, para admin, itu juga secara berkala dibekali dengan training, motivational seminar, dan lain sebagainya. Dan tentunya nanti di akhir kita semua berharap bertemu dalam event yang seperti ini. Ini adalah apa yang kita berikan nama baru sejak bulan ini, yang pertama kita lakukan dengan model seperti ini tanggal 24 Agustus 2018. Jadi persis kira-kira wisuda 2 tahun yang lalu, kami mengubah formatnya menjadi kelihatan lebih wah begitu ya, dengan menghadirkan pembicara tamu, dikasih kalungan bunga melati, kita lakukan di hotel sambil makan malam dan sebagainya. Kita sangat berharap beberapa semester ke depan Anda semua bisa join acara yang seperti ini. Nah, di luar itu banyak hal yang Anda perlu ketahui sebagai keluarga atau bagian dari keluarga Departemen Manajemen Teknologi. Pertama adalah kita punya majalah namanya Media Manajemen Teknologi yang terbit 2 kali setahun dan itu ada di website. Nanti silakan diakses. Nah, kemudian di luar beberapa hal yang saya sampaikan tadi, saya ingin menyampaikan beberapa hal. Karena dari pengalaman, setelah saya sekitar 2 tahun lebih sedikit diminta untuk mengelola Departemen Manajemen Teknologi ini, banyak sekali pengalaman yang saya dapatkan terutama dari mahasiswa-mahasiswa MMT yang memiliki persoalan sedemikian beragam, berbeda-beda, sangat berbeda dengan mahasiswa reguler yang ada di kampus Sukolilo, yang di kampus yang utama, apalagi kalau kita bandingkan dengan mahasiswa-mahasiswa S1. Karena apa? Semua atau hampir semua yang sekolah di program MMT ini, dan tentunya nanti juga adalah program DMT, adalah mereka-mereka yang sudah bekerja, punya pengalaman yang berbeda-beda, usianya bisa terpaut cukup jauh. Di kelas itu ada yang mungkin masih 22, ada yang sudah di atas 60, itu sering kita jumpai, sehingga dinamikanya akan cukup menarik. Ya. Tetapi yang penting adalah begitu Anda memutuskan untuk mengambil program ini, maka yang saya pesankan adalah ya teguhkan hati untuk menyelesaikan sampai akhir. Saya melihat cukup banyak data statistik dari mahasiswa MMT yang belum lulus sampai semester ke-8, semester ke-9, dan sebagainya. Padahal secara desain kita hanya 4 semester. Nah, walaupun tidak banyak, maksudnya tetap cukup ada yang saya lihat seperti itu. Mayoritas masih lulus dari sekitar 4 semester, bahkan cukup banyak belakangan ini yang saya lihat sudah bisa menyelesaikan studi dalam 3 semester. Jadi artinya banyak yang bagus-bagus, IP-nya juga luar biasa, ya di kelas juga luar biasa, banyak yang seperti itu. Tetapi saya ingin meyakinkan bahwa sekali Anda mengambil keputusan, maka pastikan Anda bisa menyelesaikan apa yang ambil itu dengan baik. Ya. Nah, banyak tantangannya tentu saja untuk sekolah di MMT ini. Yang pertama tentu adalah karena kebanyakan sudah capek, ya habis waktunya setelah bekerja, kemudian masih ada tugas, masih harus hadir di kuliah dan sebagainya. Nah, ini tantangan. Sehingga barangkali dalam beberapa minggu ke depan Anda butuh adaptasi yang luar biasa untuk berbagi waktu. Ya, jadi ini membutuhkan skills, tapi tidak sedikit yang berhasil. Artinya kalau kita lihat dari statistik ya mayoritas berhasil. Mungkin ada sekitar di bawah 10% yang mengalami kemoloran dan lain-lain. Nah, jadi di kelas Anda nanti, Anda akan berjumpa dengan figur-figur mahasiswa yang sangat berbeda dengan yang Anda jumpai pada saat S1. Karena kalau di S1 itu uniform, semuanya lulusan baru SMA. Sedangkan yang ini background ilmunya berbeda-beda. Ada yang dari teknik mesin, ada yang dari elektro, ada yang dari program bisnis, ada yang dari MIPA, jadi ilmu-ilmu seperti murni, kimia, dan sebagainya. Bahkan ada yang ilmu sosial, dan MMT juga sudah meluluskan beberapa yang background-nya dari psikologi dan kedokteran. Bahkan ada yang sastra Inggris, tapi memiliki pengalaman kerja yang relevan. Ya, kuliahnya juga malam atau weekend, dan nanti banyak sekali akan ketemu dosen yang hanya datang mengajar. Nah, itulah yang akan Anda jumpai di program MMT. Nah, apapun yang kita hadapi, kesulitan, tantangan, dan lain sebagainya, tetapi kami di ITS ini memiliki standar yang sama di program manapun. Di S1, S2, S3, program reguler, program MMT sama standarnya. Bahwa kita sangat menjunjung integritas. Ya, sama. Ya, jadi kita sangat menjunjung integritas. Integritas dalam arti apa? Kita punya aturan yang sangat jelas dan sangat tegas tentang plagiarisme, cheating, dan lain-lain. Jadi mohon itu dipahami bahwa kalau misalnya nanti Anda pada saat ujian ketahuan menjiplak atau menggunakan secara bersama-sama jawaban yang sama dan ada bukti untuk itu, maka bisa dalam satu semester semua nilai dinyatakan gagal. Dan itu ITS itu punya aturan dan itu bukan untuk menakut-nakuti saja, tetapi itu diterapkan. Ya. Kemudian jaga kedisiplinan, datang tepat waktu, ngumpul tugas tepat waktu. Dan kalau bisa, quality beyond expectation. Artinya, kalau mungkin ekspektasi dosennya 5, Anda kerjakan 6. Kalau ekspektasinya 7, upayakan Anda kerjakan 8. Dan saya sering sekali melihat mahasiswa-mahasiswa yang seperti ini. Sangat banyak, tidak tergantung usia. Ya, jadi tidak ada excuse bahwa misalnya, oh saya sudah senior, biarlah yang muda-muda yang bekerja. Tidak, saya lihat justru yang sudah usianya lebih dari 40 atau lebih dari 50, kedisiplinannya luar biasa, dan ininya luar biasa. Kemauan untuk bekerja lebih dari ekspektasi itu. Jadi tidak ada excuse. Ya. Itu yang pertama. Yang kedua, yang perlu saya sampaikan, mohon Anda alert dengan informasi dan pahami aturan. Karena ini ternyata menjadi sumber banyak persoalan. Pengalaman yang saya lihat, banyak mahasiswa yang terlambat membayar SPP karena mereka tidak alert dengan jadwal. Jadi mereka tidak rajin melihat jadwal kapan waktunya perwalian, kapan waktunya membayar SPP, dan lain sebagainya. Sehingga begitu banyak permintaan request eksepsional yang datang ke kami. Dan itu ada yang akhirnya bisa, ada yang tidak bisa. Jadi mohon ini mulai pertama kali Anda mengenal atau kami berhadapan dengan Anda, para mahasiswa MMT, dan juga saya kira juga mahasiswa doktoral, mohon untuk mencari informasi secara baik, bersama-sama, barangkali itu bisa dilakukan dengan memiliki teman-teman sekelas yang saling bergandengan begitu ya, sehingga jangan sampai ada satu yang ketinggalan informasi. Dari pengalaman yang saya alami beberapa kali, satu kelas mahasiswa itu bisa lulus bersama-sama atau mendekati bersama ketika ada leader di dalam kelasnya secara informal. Jadi saya sudah saksikan beberapa kali ketika di satu kelas itu ada figur yang bisa menyatukan dan memotivasi teman-temannya, biasanya ini akan menjadi sumber dari kesuksesan bersama. Ketika di satu kelas itu terpecah-pecah, tidak ada yang menyatukan, jadi satu orang jalan sendiri, ini sangat mungkin terjadi yang satu ketinggalan jauh, yang satu ketinggalan dekat, yang satu mungkin agak maju di depan, yang satu sangat jauh di depan. Nah, mohon ada yang bersedia untuk menjadi koordinator informal, menjadi informal leader di masing-masing grupnya, sehingga jangan sampai ada temannya yang ketinggalan informasi, lupa perwalian, lupa membayar SPP, dan lain sebagainya. Jadi saya sangat berharap itu bisa terjadi nanti. Baik, yang lain-lain mohon untuk aktif melihat websitenya Departemen Manajemen Teknologi di www.its.ac.id/mt. Nah, disitulah berbagai informasi itu kita upload, jadi rajin-rajin untuk menyimak di sana. Di samping juga barangkali di setiap kelas ada grup yang bisa untuk sharing informasi dan lain-lain. Saya kira itu sedikit informasi yang ingin saya sampaikan sebagai sambutan kami dari Departemen Manajemen Teknologi sebagai welcoming kami, dan intinya kami sangat senang bisa menerima Anda semua sebagai bagian dari keluarga Departemen Manajemen Teknologi. Semoga semester-semester ke depan, hari-hari, minggu-minggu, bulan-bulan ke depan menyenangkan, memberikan apa yang Anda harapkan. Itu informasi yang ingin saya sampaikan. Nah, sebelum nanti sambil kita menunggu kehadiran pembicara tamu yang nanti kira-kira mungkin jam 19 mungkin lebih 15 dan lain sebagainya, barangkali kita sambil menunggu, saya ingin memperkenalkan dulu. Yang pertama adalah Sekretaris Departemen 1 Manajemen Teknologi, Pak Jerry. Silakan, mungkin ada beberapa patah kata yang bisa disampaikan, message terhadap mahasiswa baru. Silakan.
Ya, baik, terima kasih Prof. Nyoman. Ya, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat malam Bapak Ibu. Ya, selamat malam. Ya, selamat bergabung di MMT ITS, Departemen Manajemen Teknologi ya, karena sekarang selain MMT kita juga punya program doktor. Ya, selamat bergabung. Ya, saya harapkan nanti ya kita semua berharap nanti semua proses di Departemen Manajemen Teknologi bisa berjalan dengan baik gitu ya, sehingga nanti kita harapkan Bapak Ibu bisa lulus dengan tepat waktu dan dengan nilai yang bagus gitu ya. Ya, perkenalkan, nama saya Jerry Dwi Tujio Purnomo. Ya, saya bergabung dengan Departemen Manajemen Teknologi kira-kira ya tahun 2018 ya, baru ya bergabung dengan manajemen teknologi gitu ya. Jadi saya background saya S1 dan S2, S1 S2 dari ITS, kemudian S3 dari Taiwan. Ya, nanti topik riset saya Big Data Analytics sama Machine Learning ya, jadi ke sana. Di sini saya membantu Prof. Nyoman Tujawan di bidang akademik ya. Nanti kalau itu berhubungan dengan akademik ya monggo silakan, jangan sungkan-sungkan untuk diskusi dengan kami di tim akademik ya. Nanti di tim akademik akan dibantu 3 orang tendik. Jadi ada Mas Reval, ada Mbak Widya sama Mbak Ririn yang siap, dan saya nanti yang siap membantu Bapak Ibu untuk jika ada permasalahan atau ada yang ingin didiskusikan di bidang akademik. Ya, saya kira cukup dari saya, Prof. Nyoman. Terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Baik, Pak Jerry, terima kasih. Berikutnya saya persilakan Pak Dinar sebagai Sekretaris Departemen 2 untuk bisa memperkenalkan diri, say hello kepada para mahasiswa baru.
Oke. Terima kasih Prof. Nyoman. Tadi sudah juga disampaikan bahwa saya punya nama yang panjang. Sebelumnya, selamat malam buat bapak-bapak dan ibu-ibu dosen dan rekan-rekan mahasiswa baru Departemen Manajemen Teknologi. Jadi nama saya cukup panjang, tapi cukup dipanggil Dinar saja. Ya, kalau dipanggil Dina nanti malah membuat masalah untuk mahasiswa yang cowok nanti. Mau asistensi dengan Dina gitu kan. Jadi, oke. Saya kalau Pak Jerry tadi bergabung di tahun 2018, saya lebih baru lagi. Jadi mulai bergabung di DMT ini di bulan Januari 2020 ini. Jadi saya juga termasuk baru juga ya. Angkatan 2020 di DMT. Pak Jerry tadi menyampaikan bahwa beliau membantu Prof. Nyoman di bidang akademik yang katanya susah gitu ya. Tapi saya membantu di bidang sarana dan prasarana penunjang, dan itu diakui lebih susah lagi oleh Pak Jerry, sehingga Pak Jerry menghindari posisi ini. Jadi segala hal yang berkaitan dengan sarana prasarana itu adalah tanggung jawab kami, ya saya dengan beberapa orang staf yang ada di DMT. Jadi monggo kami akan berusaha untuk memenuhi memberikan layanan terkait dengan sarana prasarana penunjang kegiatan pendidikan dan kemahasiswaan di DMT. Selamat bergabung, semoga sama harapannya, semoga bisa lulus tepat waktu, kalau bisa lebih cepat gitu ya. Tadi kalau banyak sekali motivasi yang sudah diberikan oleh Prof. Nyoman, terus terang saya juga termotivasi untuk itu. Sekali lagi selamat bergabung dan selamat mengikuti perkuliahan mulai 7.30 nanti. Terima kasih.
Baik, terima kasih Pak Dinar. Berikutnya yang juga perlu diperkenalkan di samping para dosen nantinya adalah pihak-pihak kunci yang akan banyak berkaitan nanti dengan urusan Anda semua, baik di dalam urusan akademik dan lain sebagainya. Yang pertama dari tim akademik dulu, karena ini kunci sekali. Jadi nanti semua urusan yang terkait dengan jadwal, kemudian yang terkait dengan tesis, yang terkait dengan lain-lain yang terkait dengan akademik, itu akan dihandle oleh timnya Pak Jerry. Jadi yang sehari-hari berkantor di situ. Ya, mungkin sudah hadir di sini ada Mbak Widya, ada Mbak Widya?
Ada Pak Nyoman.
Nah, jadi Mbak Widya ini nanti akan banyak sekali kalau mungkin nanya informasi tentang akademik, itu yang pertama perlu dicatat nanti nama dan kontaknya, ya. Jadi ada 3 orang yang nanti akan membantu di bidang akademik. Mbak Widya, Mbak Ririn. Mbak Ririn, di mana Mbak Ririn?
Iya, ada Pak Nyoman.
Ada, sama Mas Reval.
Iya, Pak.
Nah, itu 3 orang itu nanti akan sangat banyak berhubungan dengan akademik, ya. Kemudian yang mungkin juga yang kaitannya dengan surat menyurat. Jadi kalau ada yang minta surat untuk urusan cari data, surat untuk banyak sekali yang mungkin nanti mau apa itu namanya cuti dan sebagainya, ini nanti sekretariat. Jadi sekretariat itu ada Mbak Indri. Mbak Indri?
Hai, Pak.
Baik, itu nanti akan banyak berhubungan dengan di sekretariat. Sama Mas Wahyu, ada 2. Ya, jadi kalau ada yang mau minta tanda tangan saya, nanti bisa menghubungi mereka berdua, gitu ya. Jadi kalau ada yang butuh surat dan lain sebagainya. Mas Wahyu ada? Baik, kalau enggak ada, enggak apa-apa, ya. Kemudian yang terkait dengan ruang baca, itu barangkali, ya. Jadi ruang baca, ada beberapa yang di ruang baca, Mbak Misa barangkali.
Mbak Yuni ada.
Mbak Yuni. Ya. Ada 3 di situ, tetapi nanti silakan, ada namanya Mbak Misa, ada Mbak Yuni, ada siapa lagi Pak Teguh?
Pak Nur.
Pak Nur, ya ada 3, ya ada Pak Nur, Mbak Misa, Mbak Yuni, termasuk nanti kalau tanya-tanya bagaimana caranya mengakses jurnal dan lain sebagainya, silakan, ya. Nah, semua itu nanti dikoordinir oleh Pak Teguh namanya. Pak Teguh itu adalah kepala subbagian tata usaha. Jadi Pak Teguh ini yang akan mengkoordinasikan semua tenaga akademik. Ada juga tentunya yang ngurusi bagian keuangan, ada yang ngurusi bagian promosi dan lain-lain. Mungkin tidak semua saya perkenalkan sekarang karena juga mungkin tidak terlalu jelas kita melihatnya. Tetapi kita punya tenaga akademik yang cukup banyak di MMT ITS atau di Departemen Manajemen Teknologi. Selanjutnya ada beberapa dosen di sini yang hadir. Ada Pak Tatang. Pak Tatang ini nanti banyak yang ngajar di kelas Jakarta karena kebetulan domisilinya di Jakarta. Pak Tatang ada ya? Tadi saya lihat ada.
Ada.
Oh itu Pak Tatang ya. Kemudian Bu Reni.
Ya, selamat malam Bapak Ibu semuanya.
Ya, Bu Reni nanti ngajar manajemen pemasaran dan beberapa kuliah yang lain. Ya, jadi Pak Tatang dan Bu Reni ini memang aslinya afiliasinya di Departemen Manajemen Teknologi. Kalau kami tadi bertiga, jadi saya, Pak Jerry, dan Pak Dinar itu sebenarnya tenaga bantuan. Jadi bukan home base di Departemen Manajemen Teknologi. Jadi kami mengajar sama sekarang mendapat tugas untuk mengelola dalam periode ini. Nah, di luar itu ada beberapa juga dosen-dosen yang berhome base di Departemen Manajemen Teknologi, tapi mungkin belum akan bertemu saat ini ya. Jadi karena belum mengajar, ada Bu Gita, ada Bu Lisa, ada Pak Gogor, nanti akan ketemu ya. Jadi akan ketemu karena mungkin sebagian menjadi dosen walinya masing-masing ya. Jadi beliau-beliau menjadi dosen wali dari sebagian Anda semua. Baik, di luar itu saya ingin memperkenalkan beberapa dosen lain yang hadir di sini. Bapak Ibu dosen barangkali agak sulit saya melihat karena memang sangat banyak.
Ada Pak Indung, Pak.
Ada Pak Indung, silakan Pak Indung.
Masih di mute Pak Indung.
Pak Indung di mute.
Ya, Pak Indung.
Halo, selamat malam Pak Nyoman.
Malam. Silakan Pak Indung, nanti akan mengajar manajemen pemasaran.
Besok mulai.
Oh, besok mulai.
Besok hari Jumat.
Baik,
Iya.
silakan. Jadi siap-siap besok akan ketemu Pak Indung, ya.
Iya, manajemen pemasaran.
Baik. Baik. Apakah ada Bapak Ibu dosen yang lain yang hadir? Oke, saya lihat Profesor Metri sudah join kita, jadi sebentar lagi kita akan menyapa beliau. Jadi kita akan mulai sebentar lagi kuliah ini. Good evening, Professor Metri. You are in already, right?
Ya, good evening.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us. So it is a great pleasure to have you here. So as I mentioned before,
Yeah.
These are the new students. So we are running a graduate program that include a master program in technology management. So in this semester, we enroll about almost 200 new students,
Right.
including 20 new doctoral students. So this is the first semester we are offering a doctoral student.
Oh, great.
And most of them are actually working students. Some are actually senior executive at companies
Right.
who wish to advance their knowledge in the relevant area.
Correct.
So thank you very much once again for your time dedicating to us. So before you start your talk, I would like to introduce a little bit about Professor Metri to our student, and there are also a few faculty members who are attending today. So Professor Bimaraya Metri is now the Director of Indian Institute of Management in Tiruchirappalli, one of the IIM in India. So what I understand is that IIM, there are a couple of IIM in India, and all of these institutions are actually very much respected for high quality teaching in management area. Yeah. And Professor Bimaraya Metri is now the director in one of these IIM. And what I learned is that he actually has been heading a number of faculties, becoming a dean in a number of different institutions in India. I was fortunate to have a meeting with him few years back in New Delhi. And at that time, he was actually the dean in IMI in India. And Professor Maitri is also a very productive scholar. So he produced more than 100 research articles. And more than that, he's actually also having a lot of experience in teaching, training, and consulting. And he has also been very successful in transforming education institution. And recently, the IIM Tiruchirappalli, where he's now the director, was receiving Top Institute of India. And very much that was because his contribution and his leadership. So I think we are very happy to welcome you, Professor Maitri. So you have around 1 hour and so. So I would like to invite you to give your talk to welcome our student. So now time is yours.
Thank you very much, Professor Pujawan. I think, first of all, I take this opportunity to thank Professor Pujawan for inviting this very important event, that is opening lecture for the master's program as well as PhD programs event. And I must say, this is the beautiful journey begins today for all of you at Department of Management Technology at ITS, a great institute. So just to begin with, this is the postgraduate program, basically 2 areas, masters as well as the PhD program. So to begin with, I will start the context. All of you know that today entire world is facing COVID-19. Actually, it should have been COVID-20, but COVID-19. And in this unprecedented time, this opening lecture, maybe it is a first of its kind in the department. Here, I would like to bring to the notice, first of all, industry era, we are marching to the intelligence era. So industrial era, if you go back, it was everything touched, felt, and you can see, and everything was visible. But in intelligence era, or I must say it is a digital world or disruptive digital world, and many of you are the natives of the digital world. Probably Professor Pujawan and myself, we are not lucky to be a part of digital world when we were the kids and when we were studying, but you are extremely lucky a part of this digital technology world. Now, if you see the intelligence era, comparing to industry era, intelligence era, you can't see, you can't touch, but you can get the great result. So, for example, a Singapore bank, a digital bank, physically bank is not available. Every Singaporean get a great result out of that because of the digital world. So that is why all the postgraduate students and PhD scholars, I would like to give some of the important tips as a part of this opening lecture. First of all, each one of you have to prepare for unseen. What you are not seeing, you have to prepare yourself for that. So to do that, you have to listen to the sound of soundness. If you know, it is very easy to listen to the sound which is coming, but which is soundless, you have to listen to the sound. And that is what exactly research scholar always hunting a solution to the problems. And to do that, it is extremely important how we have to think out of the box, how we have to think differently, how we have to think critically. And to do that, it is extremely important to make excellence as a habit. And how to excellence, wherever we are there, how much we have traveled from today to tomorrow, that distance itself tells at what speed we are marching towards excellence. And to do that, particularly for the research scholars and MTech students, we have to find out the true lies. Lies all of you know, truth all of you know, but it is important in research, you have to find out the true lies and naked truth. And therefore, certain things in research as well as advanced program like master's program, it is extremely important to focus on some of the aspects. One of the, I must give the example, Indonesia and India, they are the great nations, great friendship and great culture. We share many of the aspects together as a great symbiosis and similarity. And one of the Indians said, he talked about the leadership. Leader is the one who thinks the unthinkable, who achieves the unachievable, and who sees the invisible. So probably we don't find this kind of definition in many of the textbooks, but this is one of the Indian saints, Swami Vivekananda. He talked about think the unthinkable, achieve the unachievable, and see the invisible. A very beautiful definition of leadership which is applicable to the scholars, teachers, and master students, and every business community leaders. So, and research and master's program, advanced program is all about, finding out something new, searching for the new. And that is where this, a quote from Swami Vivekananda come to handy for scholars as well as master students, how to explore. Otherwise, everybody knows everything, but how you have to be ahead of everyone. And to do that, this definition is extremely important, and how to pursue what is not seen, how to see, what is not visible, how to see it, and what is not achievable for most of the people, how to achieve it. These things are extremely important, and that is where to stand up in the crowd in academic fraternity as a master student, as a research scholar, it is extremely important. We have to recalibrate to be relevant in this disruptive world. So recalibrating ourselves, unless until we update, unless until we keep on continuously searching and reading, we cannot be relevant to the present and tomorrow's world. And somebody has very beautifully said, readers are the leaders of the coming years. Our readers are the leaders of the tomorrow's world. I know that in this digital world, and natives of the digital world, all of you, many of you, you have a lot of opportunity to work with the internet and social media and even Facebook, a lot of other things other than the studies, but it is extremely important reading in this knowledge and technology world. So that is how readers are the leaders is extremely important. We should be reading, we should be broaden our horizon, and that is extremely important. These two programs, masters as well as PhD program. And that is where somebody has rightly said, yesterday of tomorrow is today. Yesterday of tomorrow is today. It means today what we do, today what we choose, tomorrow we are going to get the result. Making choices in our hand. Now, what kind of choices you make as a master student, it may be related to subject, it may be related to your thesis, but what kind of choices you make, or it may be related to your future goal. What kind of choices you make today, tomorrow you are going to be there. Now, if you make mistakes in choices, then probably what goal you set for yourself, what dream you set for yourself, probably it will deviate yourself from set goals. Now that is where choices and what kind of choices you make and how you make the choices, it is extremely important. Making choices is nothing but what kind of decision you take today to create yourself for tomorrow. Creating yourself for tomorrow is purely in your hand, because it is all depend upon what kind of choices or what kind of decisions you make. So if you make a decision, all your decision or all your rights will become wrong, then you know that what kind of result you are going to get. How to make all our rights to be right so that you can hit the goal, you can surpass the goal. And that is where it is extremely important how to make a right decision. And decision making is a two word. And when you make a good decision making is right. It may be good decision, it may be bad decision. When you make a good decision, then you get a good result. But how to make a good decision? So decision making is two words, but good is one word. Good decision and bad decision, whether you good or bad. But if you want to make a good decision, then probably it is extremely important to get a good decision. You will have to focus on exploring what others have done. For example, PhD students, if you review, if you go through many theses in the institute, in the university, what others have done, you gain a lot of experience without experiencing yourself. Somebody has experienced, somebody has messed up, somebody has done a great job. So seeing all others' thesis and their thought process and their activity, their steps in doing research or master's thesis and advanced program, if you take a look at your library, if you take a look at all those related documents and literature, probably you need not to try and fail. Somebody has tried and failed. That wealth of experience you can use to make your decision. That is called as to make a good decision, you need experience. Experience two types, your own experience or experience of others. Your own experience is very costly, but somebody's experience is very easy to do. And that is where my advice to master students and PhD students, better to review and great literature review is half PhD done and half master's done. So referring and reviewing and also reading great literature, you can gain lot of experience, and that experience will come in handy to make a right choices and right decision. And experience, one is others, those who have done the mistake, those who have failed in cases and those who failed in certain things, you double your experience. Otherwise, if you fail in certain decisions, if you messed up certain things, you double your experience. And when you double your experience, when you are more experienced, you will become a great decision maker, great choice maker, a great sense maker. And today, in this world, those who are the great sense maker, they are the leaders in the corporate world and in the academic world. I will give one example. All of you know Microsoft company. Microsoft company was doing extremely bad till 2014. The moment Microsoft management hired Satya Nadella as a CEO of the company, chairman of the company, within no time Satya Nadella changed the face of the Microsoft, and he positioned as one of the leading company in the world, and he was rated as last year rated as a world's best sense maker. Now, how this sense making comes, how this good decision making comes, a sense making and good decision making, not only experience in your own area, in your own field, but also reading the history of the nation, culture of the nation, traditional knowledge of your own nation and other countries. It may not be relevant to your own area, it may not be relevant to the engineering, it may not be relevant to your own PhD topic, but reading those all kind of things, you will become an expert sense maker. You know, in India, we call it as a sixth sense. 5 senses, all of you know. Sixth sense helps you to make a decision. If you go back to the Western world, if you talk about Europeans or if you talk about Americans, they make the decision based on the concept and models. a BCG matrix or SWOT analysis or some kind of 7 P's or K's, all those kind of formula and model, they put the data and take the decision and see the graph. But if you look at the Asian countries like India, Indonesia, even Japan, and in Korea, Malaysia, Singapore, in Southern or Southeast Asia, we people, if you look at it, we have a rich tradition, we have a rich culture. All those tradition, culture, if you read and if you know, irrespective of which background you are working in your master's and PhD thesis, that helps you to make as a great sense maker, helps you to your sixth sense. Within no time, you will take a decision, and that decision is going to be the right decision. Look at in India, recently there was a big tsunami. Orissa, West Bengal tsunami came. Within 2 days, it was restored. When Katrina happened 2 years back in America, they took 2 years because they collected the data, and our data collecting agency gave it to somebody. They did the analysis and put all the metrics and all those things, concept and models, and somebody came out with the result. By the time they wasted 8 to 9 months. But look at Japan. When 2011, when tsunami came, earthquake happened, within 8 days, Japan was restored. Because we believe our own traditional knowledge and we develop a sixth sense which comes from our traditional knowledge. So my request, all the masters and PhD students, is how to become a great sense maker, decision maker. That is why you see in the entire Western world, whether it is a Silicon Valley or European, all the top companies are headed by the Asians. People of Asian natives are leading the Western world. Eastern people are leading the Western world companies. Why it is happening? Because in our DNA, we are known for firefighting. You know, all of you, firefighting. Firefighting means earthquake happens. You can't use the concept and models and to take a decision by the time everything will go, damaged. So, to become a great decision maker, or if such kind of contexts are changing, for example, tsunami has come. It was not at all known to anybody tsunami is going to come. Sorry, COVID is going to come. A tsunami also comes like that. COVID-19 has come. It is a disruption in the routine life. What was not possible, that was distance learning and online, it was a sidelined education. But face-to-face education was possible before COVID. Today we are all talking to each other, meeting to each other, addressing this particular session. Your opening ceremony is happening through online, because that online has become mainline, and mainline has become impossible because of the COVID, because of the disruption. And because of this, either tsunami or earthquake or even digital intervention, advancement of digital technology, many of the routine things are going to be done by the robots, going to be done by the automation. In such kind of disruption, such kind of changes in the routine or normal routine, we call it as a change in the context. A context change is happening very fast. Like a river flowing from one point to other point till to reach the sea, a context are also changing very fast. All of you know that future is fluid. Not only future is fluid, future workforce is also a liquid workforce. Liquid workforce in the sense, a people skill set, earlier days, if you take 20, 25 years back, once you graduate from the college, once you study, that was good enough to 30, 35 years work in a company, and generation to generation people used to work in the same company. But today, because of the digital disruption, changing the context very often, in one lifetime, probably you will change a dozen of companies. Not only you change the company, you also change your roles. You also change the roles means your new skill sets. New role demands the new skill set. Skilling, reskilling, upskilling is a common phenomena. In future, you want to lead the world. Many times, probably today, you are all joining a great institution great department of management technology, the moment you graduate, probably you are end up with the company which is not yet born. Probably you are end up with the job which you never heard. So that is, you are preparing yourself these 2 years and 4 years, 4 or 5 years PhD for looking towards unseen jobs, unseen roles. And whenever in the college, a great university and institution, when you study like ITS, here you have to prepare yourself for a lifelong learning. You are all going to be a perpetual learner. Perpetual learner means the moment you change one company and one role, then you have to skill, reskill, and upskill. It means you have to learn, unlearn, and relearn. Learning and relearning is very, very easy to do, probably in university like this. Professors like Pujawan and all probably guide and help you to learning and relearning. But unlearning, no colleges teach. You have to make yourself for unlearning, otherwise you know that the computer, the hard disk will full once the capacity is over. So you also, some of the things which are not required, which are not relevant, which are not the good habits, all those things we have to unlearn. Then only we can create a space, and based on the neurology, we can be a best brain we can create to pick up the future skills, new age skills, new generation skills, so that you can calibrate yourself to be present, yourself to be relevant to the present disruptive world. And that is where it is extremely important how to get into that. For that purpose, as a scholars, we have to prepare ourselves as a contextual leaders. A contextual leaders mean the moment the context changes, the environment changes, the situation changes, old action are not going to give the result. 10 years back, what you used to do, that is not going to work out today. And what you do today, 5 years down the line, it is not going to work out. Things are changing in front of your own eyes. Companies are changing, companies are disappearing, new roles are coming, IoT is coming, machine learning is coming, 3D printing is coming, and cloud computing coming. All these new things are coming, and within no time they will get afloat and something else will come. So how to update oneself, it is extremely important. And the future leaders in academia are those who are the first one to capture the technology, and you should never be the last one to capture this technology. So when you capture the technology as a first person, then you are leading ahead of the time. How to lead ahead of the time? What will happen 3 years down the line, you should make today, and accordingly you choose your PhD topic, you choose your thesis, and that is called as a sense making. Just I give an example of Satya Nadella. So what will happen 3 years down the line? What jobs are going to disappear? What new jobs are going to come? What companies are going to down? What companies are going to up? Or how many companies are which sector is going to be a sunrise industry? Which sector is going to bring down its capacity as well as its value? All those things will come only when you capture the technology, when you keep your eyes open and eyes on every details. Not only your own subject, but you have to also keep your eyes very clear, and you should look at the sky and you can make the sense. It means you have to connect your roots as an Indonesian, as a great scholar of this great university, but at the same time, you keep your eyes open, look at the globe, what is happening. So in this context, I can quote best of one of the literature available. Sun Tzu, Chinese general, wrote once, if you know yourself, if you know your enemy, you are always going to be the winner. He has made a 3 important quotation in the book called Art of War. In the Art of War, Chinese general Art of War book, he said, if you don't know yourself, if you don't know your enemy, you are not going to do any progress in your life. Means if you don't know yourself, if you don't understand yourself, don't understand what is happening anywhere else, as a great academician, he made this statement in context of war, but it can be used for the academician looking at the other institution. You are not going to succeed. But if you know yourself, if you don't know what is happening outside your own institution, your own university, then probably it is winning the battle and losing the war. You may win the battle, but you may lose the war. But if you know yourself and know your counterpart all over the world, what is happening in my field, in my area, what is happening, what kind of research is going on, what kind of activities are going on, then you are going to be the winner. You always have a winning spirit towards failure. You know, when you do PhD, probably many times you get into frustration because you don't get the result. Probably something may be experimental, something may be a computational, something may be a theoretical model and theory building kind of research probably you might have taken up or you are going to pick up. Many times you don't get the result. Suddenly one day, one night, you know, you think about it and you sleep and next day morning you get up. Suddenly idea comes and you go to the office and you work on the computer, you get the result, and that result is a spark that is going to be a great result, and you stand up because of the result, and you may get a patent out of that, you may get a copyright out of that, and you can publish a great paper in one of the top-notch journal in the world. This is how it is. Like, you know, when you hammer on the stone, one hammering you can't break the stone. Probably you'll keep on hammering once, twice, third time, fourth time. When you 19th time, if you hammer, it is not breaking. But 20th time, when you hammer, a stone will break. But it is not the 20th time is important. All 19 are also important. So you know the story of when the electric bulb, you know, when it was invented, he tried more than 22 times and 23 times, 24 times he succeeded. So failure is a part and parcel of the life, particularly in research. When you get into research, many times frustrations, what you don't want, such kind of result will come. You probably, like amoeba, probably you hold one direction and you will change. You will have to change another direction, you will have to change another one, and finally you get the right path. So, changing the path is a common phenomenon in research. So, in such an area, when you keep on working at that time, it is extremely important that try and also many times you fail, but not to give up is the one of the important principle in education, everywhere in business. You will fail only when you give up. You may not get the result, but you are not failing if you don't give up. So not to give up spirit, always you should have masters and PhD student. So that is where you have to learn to fail and fail to learn. This is an important line you have to keep in mind. You have to learn to fail and fail to learn. Today, if you ask me once, you know, last year, one of the conference, international conference, IC3 conference, there was a panel on learn to fail and fail to learn in Mumbai. So we three people, one from Australia, one from two from Indian, myself, and one of the professor, former dean of IST Hyderabad, we three were there. We all three agreed that whatever we have reached the position today, it is all because of the failure. It is not because of the success. Every point of time we failed, we have raised one level up. Every failure taken you to the next orbit and next orbit and next orbit. If you don't fail, you remain on the same ground. The moment you fail, you know, Newton's third law, action and reaction, the way you act at the same speed, it will come back. So the moment you fail, again, same speed, you go up. So that is why that kind of failure, some kind of shocks are extremely important to succeed in your life, to climb the ladder faster than the fast. Failure is the essential component for success normally, but we see that one end is a failure, one end is a success. That is a wrong way of looking at failure. Failure is essential component in your life, and how many times we fail, such a greater, higher heights we reach. That is why when you do your college education, higher education, now when you make a movement as a part of study, you come across many curves, many loops, many bends and curves. So each bend and curve, why you take a turn? Because you don't get the result, you take a turn. Again, you don't get the curve, you take a turn. Many curves and loops will come. So curves and loops are nothing but failures and confusions. Failures and confusions are part and parcel of the life, particularly in masters and PhD studies. The moment, but one important wise decision is extremely important. Even though if you don't know it is right or wrong, you have to take a decision. Then in that case, one person, wise person, can take a decision even though you don't know what kind of result you'll get. But the another person, he will wait for decision. He will not take any decision. Not taking any decision is, we are making the biggest mistake in your life. You take a decision, if it is not correct, then once again you take another decision, you set it right. Because once you take a decision, you will come to know whether it is right or wrong. If it is right, you continue. If it is wrong, once again you take a decision and turn it, so that you can succeed in your life. So that is why taking wrong decision is better than waiting for the decision to take and delaying the decision. You should never delay the decision, even though if you don't know, take a decision. If you fail, again set it right and go ahead. This is how life is full of curves and confusions, and this is how we have to succeed. And that is how we have to make failure as a habit, not the success as a habit. The moment you make a failure as a habit, you keep on getting success over success. And that is why we earlier, probably when you were the kids, or I was the kid, disruption was considered as a bad word. Today we are very happily accepted the disruption. Failure was also considered as a bad word, but I must say we should love to fail. Sooner we fail, sooner we move to the next target. You should be unhappy what you are doing. You should be get into an uncomfort zone. The moment you say I am happy, then you will remain in that zone for a longer time. The moment you are dissatisfied, unhappy, keeping higher goals and all, looking at the bigger picture, then probably sooner you move to the next orbit and next orbit and next orbit. Probably you keep on climbing your own Everest. Each one of you are your own Everest in your life. Everest is the highest peak point in the world, Himalaya. So everybody should keep a very big picture as a dream. Your dream has to be very big, whether you achieve it or not. But you achieve only when, if you focus like a laser focus. Focus is one thing, laser focus is another thing. When the Bill Gates' mother once invited Steve Jobs for the dinner party, and you know that Steve Jobs was a great successful entrepreneur, and Bill Gates, all of you know, a great entrepreneur. Bill Gates' mother, when invited both of them, they were talking. She said, I would like to conduct a test, 1 minute test for both of you. Both were business people. Like a teacher, she said, I would like to conduct a, because she was the mother of Bill Gates, she said, I would like to conduct a test for you. I will pass on a piece of paper. I have written something on that, but you have to answer on the piece of paper with only 2 words. She put a constraint, 2 words and 1 minute you have to answer. But she also made both of them, one has to sit on my left side, one has to sit on right side, so that you should not see each other. Academics, you know, we always, you know, copying and all, one should not see each other. You can give your own independent opinion. And she made them both of the great leaders to sit, you know, opposite side. And she gave a piece of paper. And when they opened the piece of paper, and she told 1 minute and you have to write, both of them wrote the answer. And you know, the question was, what is the secret of your success in your businesses? That was the question. What is the secret of your success in your respective business? And she opened the piece of paper and she told them, both of you sit in front of me. And she shown both the paper, both of them, and both of them exactly written only 2 words, laser focus. Both of them have written only 2 words, laser focus. Why both of them succeeded? Because their focus was not only ordinary focus, it was laser focus. Laser focus means do or die. I have to do this. There is no option, no alternative. If you decide, nobody can make you to fail. Nobody can make you to stop, to climb your own Everest. And that is what extremely important in a life. We have to keep a very big goal. And who can do that? A person who is a mad person. All of you know MAD. Is it not? Who is a mad person? He can only do it. And you know that what is mad? What is mad? Mad means make a difference. Who can make a difference in workplace? Who can make a difference in an institution? Who can make a difference in a department, respective department? They can only achieve the Everest. They can achieve the bigger goal. They can be a laser focus and they can be a great executive. Now look at a nail is in front of you, a gun is given and nail is put on another front wall. And if the gun is given to you, you keep on hitting, but it will not hit the nail. It will hit here and there and here and there. You will not hit the target, even 10 options are given. But in India, there is a personality called Jaspal Rana. If you give the gun and if you give nail anywhere, if you put on the wall, in a single shot, you will hit the nail. It means what? Single shot hitting the nail means you know how to walk on the string and how to hit the nail. It is called as a execution skill. Unless until we may be having great plan, those who planned well, they never achieved the success because they failed in execution. Those who executed well without plan, they also failed. Planning and execution, those are extremely important for the masters and PhD students for their academic work, to stand up in the crowd and to become a role model for rest of the community in the country and the globe. It is extremely important. Each one of you have to plan well. You also have to execute well. The way Jaspal Rana hits the nail in one shot, you should also learn a skill of execution without deviation, without failure. That is extremely important in life. And for that purpose, in particularly in masters and PhD, it is extremely important how to manage the time. Time management is extremely important. Otherwise, time just passes. You don't know how you spent 2 years, 1 year in the institution, and then what contribution I have made for my research and my master's program. If you look back, probably you realize it is difficult to say what I have done. It means if you can't measure, you can't manage. And if you can't measure, you can't manage, it is also connected with the time. In a year, in a month, in a quarter, what I supposed to do? You have to fix the matrix. Matrix are important. METRIC. You know, my surname is only METRI. If you add C, then it will become matrix. So that matrix is extremely important. If you don't have matrix, probably time passes, but you don't hit the target, you don't achieve the milestone. And that is why it is extremely important how to spend the time very cautiously, optimally. You can use some kind of rules. I can say, you know, for an administration, as a director of the institution, Indian Institute of Management, Trichy here, I will use the time very cautiously, 60-40. So 60-40 means 60% of the time you can use for your own administration. 40% of the time I use for the other committees and policy making and all those other things for external to my own institution, but for the nation building exercise, policy making and some government committees and all, I use for 40% and 60% for my own administration at my own institution. You also come out with some kind of formula. What are the essential things you have to do in day to day? How much time you are spending in a given, out of that, you know, 60%, 70% essential, 30% you have to do other things. So if you come out with the 60-40 or 30-70 or 70-30 kind of formula, probably it helps you to set the matrix and hit the target and get the result. This is how you keep on marching from one milestone to the other milestone to the other milestone. A day will come, maybe Professor Poojawan and all your great professors will appreciate you because you are setting a benchmark over the benchmark. And when you do that, you should always race with yourself. 3 things are important in academics. You should never complain. You should never compare. You should never compete. Complaining about whom? You see, whatever the given facility in the institution, how optimally and cautiously we have to. This is the gift given at my institution by my professors and my director and my teacher, my vice chancellors. How to make use of the resources available optimally, how to meet the professor, tap the potential available. So that is in your hand. But you should never compare others. You know, oh, I am the great. I have published 2 papers as a PhD scholar in 2 years. Others have not published. It means you are limiting yourself, your competency, your potential. You don't be frog within the well. You have to look at the globe. You have to look at the globe. How many research scholars in 2 years, how many papers they have published? And what category of publication they have done? If you look at others, oh, somebody in so-and-so university in Singapore or Australia or US or China or India, so they are publishing 4 or 5 in 2 years and I am publishing only 2. So that is why one should not look within, you have to benchmark at global level. And that is why you have to compete with yourself. The moment you become the best in the institution, you have to compete with yourself, race with yourself, and don't compete with anybody else. So that is where never complain, never compete and with others, and never compare with others. So you have to compete with yourself and you have to understand yourself and don't limit your potential. You have a lot of potential. Always what we think ourselves is much smaller than what God kept for us for our purpose. So that is why God always thinks much bigger role for us, bigger goal for us, and we always think small. We think that we can't achieve it. I tell you one small a story. One of the businessmen, he kept a competition. He said that there is a 200-meter a water tank, and he said 200-meter water tank, who swims from one end to other end, he will get, you know, about 20 million rupees, you know, Indian rupees, 20 million Indian rupees. He kept the prize. 20 million Indian rupees, people, you know, they thought it is a great, and only you have to 200 meter you have to swim. Those who know the swimming, all the people came to that located venue, and everybody was interested to get that 20 million, and within short span of time, you know, just probably in 15-20 minutes I can go this end to that and only 200 meter. Everybody was looking for the opportunity, and that businessman made the announcement because it was a newspaper advertisement. All people went over there, and the moment businessman, before starting the game, he said, all the participants, important instruction. He said the instruction is, this water tank is full of crocodiles. Water tank is filled with crocodiles, and you have to move from this end to that end. It is 200 meters. Those who want to participate, come forward and raise the hand. The moment he said it is full of crocodiles, everybody started going back. Earlier, everybody was interested. They thought it is a plain water. Later on, they realized crocodile. Everybody started going back within no time. Meantime, one fellow jumped into the water tank. The moment one fellow jumped into the water tank, the sound came. Everybody again started looking at him. What will happen to him? Because it is full of crocodiles. Everybody was looking how the crocodile will catch him, eat him, and this fellow will die. Everybody eagerly, you know, they are all looking into the water tank and they are observing how this fellow will survive. Within no time, that fellow moved from one end to other end, and the moment he reached the end, he collapsed, he fell down. 2-3 people came, they started beating from the back, and they took out the water from his mouth, and he was unconscious. Meantime, media people came and they started asking questions. How do you dare to jump into what motivated you? And all kind of questions media people started asking that fellow, but that fellow was unconscious. And after 10 minutes, after taking out lot of water from the body, this fellow became conscious. Again, media people came and started asking question. Gentlemen, can you tell me what made you to jump? What was your motivation? Everybody was going back and why you are jumping? That fellow said, in Hindi he said, first you tell me who pushed me into the water tank. Somebody has pushed him. And that is how, now the moment he jumped into the water tank, there is no way then he has to reach, and he reached. There was no crocodile biting, but he successfully reached and he got that 20 million rupees within no time, but it was not his own will and wish. Somebody has pushed him. It means each and every one, my dear students, this story is a very interesting and important to each one of you. In your life, each one of you should have a mentor. A mentor always push you to the one level up. You think I can do this much, but your mentor will say you can do this much. If you think I can do one level, your mentor will say you can do 2 level or 3 level more. You always underestimate your own capability, but your mentor, your guru, your teacher always, they know that you can do much better than what you think. And that is what this water tank story very clearly tells. Each one of you have a mentor, a guru, a professor who can guide you, who can tell you. And you have to take such a professor as a mentor that once he says, you can't say no to them. So many of you, a very senior professor as a mentor, if you take him or take her, she will say you have to do this. Suppose if such a professor you take a PhD guide, he will say you have to publish in this year 2 papers. Then it is binding for you because my professor has said I can't say no to him. Nobody says no to such a professor. Then what do? You tap all the potential available with you. You work day and night, and then you publish. Not in 12 months, probably in 8 months you publish. Then you realize, initially I was thinking I can't do, but because of this professor, I published. So this is how in your life, each one of you have a great professor as a mentor or guru. They will push you to the higher level. They are the one knowing you what is your potential. You always underestimate yourself. You always say, I can't do beyond this. I can't do beyond this. But your teachers are the one, they will say you can reach not only one Everest, but you can reach many Everest. And that is what you should have a mentor in your life. This opening lecture, this mentoring is extremely important because otherwise probably what you learn in 10 years, if you are a mentor, you learn in 1 year. That is extremely important. So that is why make a difference. How to make a difference in workplace? You should have a mentor. And not only mentor, you also should have a passion. Passion is your important strength. You always should have passion, and the passion is your greatest strength. Passion towards research, passion towards study, passion towards the competition, passion towards organizing conference as a research scholar and as a master student. So that passion takes you 10 miles ahead of everybody else. So whatever you do, what you love, you should do it, and you should always remain ahead of the time. And that is extremely important. You should literally romance with your PhD work. You should romance with your subject. The moment you romance with your subject and your PhD work or your master's work, nobody can stop you to be the rank holder of the university and top of the top in the country and in this part of the world. That romancing with your own work, that is the greatest contribution you are going to do. You choose a subject which you love, and then there is no looking back. Then you have to come out with the great result which everybody else in the university should appreciate. And that is where it is extremely important. Aware of myself is your strength. You have to aware of yourself what you are. Probably you are not the right person to aware yourself what you are. Understanding yourself, you are not the right person. Your mentor will tell you what you are. That awareness of yourself is the biggest strength, and that you should learn from your mentor. Once you know what you are, once your teacher says you can move the mountain, then there is no way looking back you can move the mountain. And that is how awareness about yourself is one of the greatest strength, and passion is another greatest strength. You should have these two strengths. I must tell you, there is no going back. There is no your winning attitudes to the failure. Even the failure will run away, and many failure will come, but finally you win over the failure and you will become a great researcher and great student. So that is why it is extremely important. You should have your own enemy within. Many times what happens, most of your, if you do more work and others are not doing, and probably others are jealous of you. So then they will become like an enemy. They will pull your leg. But you create enemies always. If you don't have enemy, and you are not going to improve. Enemies means those who criticize you. Those who criticize you always make you a more disciplined person. And if nobody is there to criticize you, you have to create an enemy within yourself. You have to create an enemy within yourself. You have to talk to each other. Are you doing the right thing? You ask yourself, because if enemy are there, they will make you to right all the time. They always point out your mistakes. They always point out your indiscipline. So you'll become more disciplined if you have enemies. If you don't have any enemies, then within yourself you create one enemy, and you keep on asking, what are you doing? How much time you have spent? What did you do? What are the essential, non-essential, and what are the do's and what are the don't? So like this, if you ask yourself, probably you'll be more disciplined, you stand up in the crowd. If nobody is there to ask, probably you create enemies within. That is one important aspect. But dare to be honest. Each one of you dare to be honest, because in this rat race, in this competitive VUCA world, in this disruptive world, people look at the shortcut. Hard work is the only way. There is no substitute for hard work. There is no substitute for honesty. There is no competition in the area of ethics. Ethics, honesty, and hard work, competition is very less. You should enter into that area and you should stand up in the crowd. In long run, you are going to be the winners. And that is where it is extremely important. Choose the areas where there is no competition. Honesty, probably you find a least competition. Choose the area where ethical practices, very least people. Your own Indonesian ethos, your own country ethos. People, oh, history I don't believe, and old tradition I don't believe. I follow Western pattern, I follow this pattern. Probably your originality, your nation, your patriotism, your ethos, they are going to make you a great person. And that is why in your own country withal and in your own ethics, probably there is no competition, and you should stand up in the crowd, and in long run you are going to be the winners. You should be the champion of change. Champion of change means you are the researcher, you are the master student. You have to achieve a mastery in a subject. For example, when you study the course in a master's or even PhD, some courses you do. When you do one course, that course is introduced to you. You understand the course a little bit. Second, when you do similar course, you go a little more deeper depth about that course. So deep study that course. If you further take the course on similar area, if you do some kind of simulation, if you do the project in that similar subject, then probably you achieve the mastery in that subject. So each one of you have to achieve the mastery in the chosen subject, which is of your choice. And that is how you are going to be the change masters. You are going to be the champion of change. And that is what need of an hour. Whenever you do anything, you should always see it is the best attempt. It is the best shot I am doing in my life. And this is the only opportunity I have. Always you should think, when you do PhD, this is the only opportunity I have. I should do the best, not only in the institute, not only in the country, but you should look in the world how I can do the best. All of you know that Obama, when he was in childhood, he was studying in Malaysia as a child. He dreamed of becoming a president of America. And he became president. When he was in Malaysia as a child, finally, what dream he kept in a childhood, and he became a president of America, which is rarest of rare, but he achieved it. Even though originally non-American, African American, he became because he dreamed a big picture. He kept a big picture for himself. So that is why you should have always a Himalayan goal. All of you might be knowing India and Himalaya. You have to keep a Himalayan goal. I am sure a day will come, you will achieve the goal. And that is what I call it as a, you are going to be the change masters, studying your PhD and master's program, and you are also going to be the champion of change and role model for many, many students and in many generations to come in that institute and in that department of your ITS and Department of Management Studies. Apart from that, it is extremely important for the PhD student and particularly master students also, you have to taste the test. TASTE and the TEST. Taste the test. You see, test, you know, TEST, number of tests you might have given before coming to masters and PhD. But TAST, you have to taste the test. You have to get the feel of the test. That is extremely important. So, how to comprehend the big things into small way, it is extremely important. When you understand these things, it is extremely important to understand such things. It is extremely important to explore, that is basically think out of the box. You have to always attempt to out of the box. Always unusual. Always you have to put yourself into uncomfort zone. You have to make uncomfort zone as a comfort zone. What will happen? All of you know. If you put yourself, you change the dictionary, uncomfort as a comfort and comfort as an uncomfort, then you always enter into uncomfort zone, then nobody can beat you. You are always the leaders of the leader. And you win over all kind of difficulties. And that is where how to become a leaders of the leader in academic world. You always put yourself ahead of them. So to do that, it is extremely important. You have to look towards out of box, and also you have to see the global problem, but you have to also find out the local solution. Particular research scholars and thesis in MTech thesis, global problems, but local solutions you have to find out. For example, global warming, it is a big issue for the global level. But if you come out with the solar in your own area, solar power, rooftop or institution or some of the areas, this is a local solution to the global problem. So always you have to think in that every crisis there is an opportunity. Every crisis have given us an opportunity to think. Every crisis have given us an opportunity to innovate. And all the academicians, basically like MTech students and PhD students of Department of Management Technology of ITS, Indonesia, you are all going to be a great innovator. You should be leader in the innovation, and to become a leader in the innovation, what you have to do is basically you have to look at problem. Problem is nothing but crisis, and every crisis there are two sides, half glass full, half glass empty. If you look at the crisis half glass empty, you don't get anything, only waste your time. But if you see the half glass full, probably ample opportunity to innovate and adapt and get the best result. And that is what, it is a great opportunity for you. And today is the first day. And once you plan yourself for your master's program and for PhD program for today, day one, if you think, if you plan, I am sure end of the day from your college, I am sure not only you come out with the colorful figures, grades, colorful recognition, but you also become a role model. You also become best example, not only in the institution, but in the country. And that is where I always tell you, you have to focus on how to create yourself. It is in your hand. Whom to born is not in our hand, but how to create ourselves, it is always in our hand. So create ourselves is extremely important. And you might have seen, if you read the history of Indonesia, history of India and Indian and history Indonesian culture, probably many gods and goddesses have many avatars, many roles. Same God has different name and different point of time. You also have to show before master students, before PhD, you are one avatar. Second avatar is once you do the PhD. After 10 years of doing PhD, you enter into the third role, third avatar. So you also change you create yourself every point of time. You are going to be a different person at different level, and this is how you climb the ladder from one level to next level to the next level. So you have to get into the avatar, like probably you all of earlier black and white TV, then color TV came, then LED TV came. Like that, you also change your avatar from childhood to then PhD, then after PhD, after recognition of the research, you get into another avatar or another role. And to do that, continuous update. Always you see that you have to be relevant to the present world. You have to be relevant to the disruptive world. And to do that, you have to keep your eyes and ears all the time open. The moment you keep your eyes and ears open, I must tell you, nobody can beat you. What is not visible, you start seeing. What is not achievable, you start achieving. And what is not thinkable by others, you start achieving. Look at, for example, all of you know, in India, there is a Tata company, there is a Birla company, there is a Arcelor company, which is headquartered in England. Now, all these business leaders, Tata acquired the Jaguar. Jaguar was the biggest, its parent company. Ford was the biggest company. Jaguar was the biggest company, much bigger than Tata. But Tata acquired the Jaguar. Lakshmi Mittal steel company acquired the Arcelor. Arcelor was the biggest steel company in the world. But Mittal, a UK-based company, an Indian origin, he acquired Arcelor and it became a world's topmost steel company. It means small fishes are eating the bigger fishes in this world. In this world, 20, 30 years back, everybody was knowing big company means nobody can beat the big company. But I am giving the example of Indian example. Even Airtel company, telecom company, Indian Airtel company acquired a loss-making South African company, which was much bigger in size and scale. So small fishes are eating the bigger fishes, which was impossible, and today it is possible. Earlier, size was very important in industrial era, but in intelligence era, speed is important. How fast you change, how fast you disrupt yourself. No, you are all joining the master's and PhD program. Each one of you are disrupting yourself. Unless until you disrupt yourself, you are not going to get into new avatar. You are not going to get into a new age, a new person. In new normal, in new age, new person, you always have to disrupt yourself. You stand up in the crowd. And to do that, you have to always get into uncomfort zone. So that is how size and speed. 30 years back, size was important, and today speed is important. Today, quality is important. Today, keeping your eyes and keeping the eye on every details is important. You see, companies like General Motors and Toyota, they are afraid of Tesla. They are afraid of Google. Driverless cars are coming. Earlier, the competition always used to happen within the sector. All the car manufacturing companies used to compete each other. But today, 110-year-old General Motors is afraid of Google, a 20-year-old company. And if you see all over the world, companies who are born less than 20-year-old, they are all the top 20 companies in the world. Companies which are age-old companies, they are not in the top 10 and top 20 race. Because intelligence era and industry era, from industry era, those who move to intelligence era, they are all going to be successful. Those who remained in the industry era, Airbnb, a biggest hotel industry. Earlier, hotels like Marriott kind of hotels, they used to play an important role. But Airbnb, it has not a single inch of space and residence, but they are the biggest hotel industry. Like Uber and all, they don't have their own cars, but they're the biggest taxi industry. So in this intelligence era, it is extremely important each one of you move from industry era, touch and feel, to the invisible, but outcome is visible, the result is visible, the process is invisible. And that is where it is extremely important. You have to keep end in mind, whatever you do. Another important mantra you have to keep, always keep end in mind, then accordingly you have to work out. You have to keep your very neat and sharp and Himalayan goal, and then you work towards that with laser focus, technology enabled, with full of passion, and with full of advice from the mentorship. I must tell you, you are the winners and you separate yourself from the losers. I wish all the best and welcome all of you for the great Department of Management Technology and ITS for joining. My hearty congratulations to all the 20 PhD students and 200 MTech students, and also this opening lecture for invitation. I thank Professor Pujawa and all the faculty members and management of the ITS and Department of Management Technology, all the esteemed distinguished faculty members, and all the participating students. Once again, I welcome you and I wish you a great good luck. I am sure you do the wonders in years to come once you graduate from this great management department, a Department of Management Technology, ITS, Indonesia. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Wish you good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Metri, for very wise words. So there are a lot of message for every one of us, not only for students, but also I think those words are also very useful for us as a faculty members. So thank you very much once again, and have a nice evening. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Terima kasih Bapak, Ibu semuanya, saudara-saudara. Terima kasih. Dengan demikian maka berakhir acara kita pada malam hari ini. Terima kasih juga atas kehadirannya. Sampai ketemu di kuliah-kuliah berikutnya. Thank you very much, everyone. Professor Metri, once again, thank you very much for the message, for the nice word.
Okay, great. Thank you. I look forward to see you in India. And one more news is I am moving from IIM Trichy to IIM Nagpur. October 5th, 6th, I am joining Indian Institute of Management Nagpur, which is Trichy is the central point of Tamil Nadu, and Nagpur is the central point of India.
All right.
So I am moving from central point of one province to the central point of India, that is Nagpur.
All right.
I am Nagpur as a director. I am going 6th of October.
So this October.
Yeah, October 6th I am going.
All right. So congratulations for the new appointments.
Yeah, thank you very much and look forward to see you there. Our ISGSI next year 21 is there.
Yeah,
so
hopefully.
Look forward to see you.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Metri.
Okay, great.
Okay,
Nice.
congratulations.
Great. Yeah.